Is a GameCube style controller the best option for Nintendo Switch in 2024? Let's find out. If it isn't apparent, I was a big handheld kid. I don't know what it was, but I just really didn't play a ton of home console games. But my family did have the family N64, and my brother had the PlayStations and a GameCube, and man, was I in awe of that thing when it came out. Perhaps I just had three-dimensional shapes on the mind.
And it's spherical! Spherical!
But once my brother passed it down to me, I played that thing non-stop. And I even made it portable by using that LCD screen and battery attachment, but man did I love that controller. And what if I hate something new? I'm a nostalgia guy, god damn it. I need things to stay the same as they were when I was a developing child. Well, thank God for companies like NYXI, who have kept things retro, if the GameCube is considered retro these days, with their NYXI Wizard, which is made to pull at those nostalgic heartstrings, and for good reason, too. Now, just a disclaimer, NYXI did send this to me, but they are not paying me for this video. Well, they did set me up with an affiliate link, which is in the description below, and they gave me this code to get 10% off your first order. So I remember when this thing first came out, and it was really an eye-opening concept. Other companies had made GameCube-style controllers in the past, but none have gone as far as to make it kind of a Joy-Con-style experience. Well, aside from the modding community. But let's take a look at this thing and see how it looks, feels, and holds up against the original GameCube controller. So first impressions of this thing is that it feels just like a regular GameCube controller. Redundant to say, I know, but I feel like it's worth noting, because I even remember holding things like a wireless Wavebird back in the day, or anything claiming to emulate that original GameCube experience, and there would just always be something off about those. And I mean, there are definitely some differences here, obviously, but the actual feeling of the controller itself isn't what's different. Like, over here, I have just knockoff I had made a while ago, and this thing just sucks. It's a ton lighter, it kind of feels hollow, to be honest, and I don't know if it comes across on camera, but this joystick is like super wiggly. And then I have the original right here, which, avoid the discoloration, this one is from my childhood, but oh man, that feels so good. And then you pick this thing back up and it just feels so solid. It's a tad bigger though. I honestly didn't even notice until I put them side by side. I also feel like I was expecting this thing to be super heavy, but honestly, it's a lot lighter than I thought, which is good because you're gonna be attaching this thing to your Switch anyway, which adds a decent amount of weight. But let's go over some of the differences here, which are honestly pretty slim. I think the first thing I noticed on this was the lack of analog triggers in the back. Instead, the NYXI Wizard opts for these tactile buttons. Now, I don't think this is a problem by any means. I mean, it kind of makes sense for gameplay if you think about it, like less travel and quicker reaction time overall. But I definitely feel like I don't see that in controllers that often, so it just took a little bit getting used to. Other than that though, that was the only real difference I felt when I was playing it versus the original controller. Other differences are more upgrades because you have to add the other controls for the Switch. For example, lots of other buttons here. Of course, your plus and minus buttons. You have your screenshot button and home. You have two turbo buttons on the front. And of course, the original only had the one set of L and R buttons, but on here you have L and R and ZL and ZR. And then on the back, you have the FR and FL buttons. FML, am I right? But what are these buttons, these FR and FL? These are actually customizable combo buttons for your game. You set it up using this gear icon up here, and then you do your combination, and then anytime you hit that FR or FL button during gameplay, it'll perform that combination that you had set up. Now, taking it out of the bridge, you can also see that it still has the SL and SR buttons, so I wouldn't really say that it's meant to be used this way. And now onto the joysticks. I am not exaggerating when I say that these might be some of the best joysticks that I've ever used. Like, I let my wife use the controller to see how she felt about it, and without even asking, she said how much she loved the joysticks. For me, I think it's the indentation on the joystick itself. It just like cradles my thumb so nicely, and it's mimicked on the other side too with the C-stick. And then there's the actual ring around the controller itself. For some reason, GameCube controllers opt for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 octagonal. They opt for an octagonal joystick ring. But as you can see, that joystick ring octagon is brought over to the NYXI Wizard as well. But you can actually, if I can do this right, swap these rings out. You can actually take the whole joystick off. joystick back on, and you can swap it out for this circular ring, which they sell separately. And then I'm sure you've noticed that the C-stick is not that tiny nub that we are used to. Well, don't worry, because same with the joystick ring, you can actually swap this out too, and they sell the little nub separately. There you have it, just like that. Or you can actually buy it with the C-stick nub already attached. Guess if you really wanted to, you could do double nubs. Oh, and did I mention that the ABXY buttons light up? So far we've mainly been looking at this controller in its true controller form, just to more easily do a one-to-one comparison to the original GameCube controller. But like we said before, you can actually split this thing in half and attach it directly to your Switch, now giving you GameCube comfortability on the go. Now it does look and maybe feel a little abnormally long when it's like this, but it still is really a great gaming experience, and so much reminds me of gaming on my Ashida portable GameCube. You can also still dock the Switch when these are attached, and the Switch will charge each side while they are attached. You also might have noticed these USB-C ports at the bottom, and that is to charge each side individually. So actually your best bet to charge them out of the box would be to attach them to the Switch. But they do sell this bridge accessory, which is essentially the bridge that came with it, but it has a USB-C port, which allows you to charge them both at once. Now I've mentioned this on and off throughout the video, but gaming with this controller just feels so good. Obviously the best use case for a controller like this is playing Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everything is mapped perfectly, and obviously a game like this would be a great way to use those FL and FR buttons. And other fighting games feel great using this controller, as I'm sure you could imagine. Another great game to play using this controller is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So my body went straight into some sort of muscle memory and I started using the default buttons for Double Dash, which I guess I could remap it if I really wanted to. Breath of the Wild also feels great. I haven't gotten to play Tears of the Kingdom yet, okay? But any Zelda game is one of those games where you are playing for hours in each gaming session, and this controller is definitely one I can count on to not give me hand cramps during that time. And then lastly, I loaded up Super Mario Sunshine from Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This actually is a GameCube game, so when you play this on the Switch with this controller, it just feels right. Now, I am not a serious gamer. I'm very casual and rarely pick up new titles, unless there is some sort of nostalgic connection to it. And over the years, Nintendo has released NES and N64 Online, which is dope, but I think a ton of us are holding out for that GameCube Online, or at least to have some more individual GameCube games ported over. And I feel like this controller was made in hopes that that does get made, but in the meantime, NYXI is ahead of the curve, and you can have this truly amazing nostalgic time using it, because it really is the best GameCube style controller out there for the Switch. I mean, until NYXI decides to make something like this for an N64 controller. Could you imagine? Thanks again to NYXI for sending this out. I was seriously so stoked when they did. Like I said, I had been eyeing this thing since its release, and I am so happy I was able to try it out. Make sure to check out the NYXI Wizard at my link in the description, and use code nostalgia for 10% off your order. And as always, thanks for watching.